Hello guys, and welcome back to a very special episode of Plug and Player. Today we're going to make a glorious return to the 16-bit era with Radica's Sega Genesis plug and play I showed you a couple weeks ago. Today though, we're going to be looking at three more games: Flicky, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and Altered Beast. Let's start by taking a look at Flicky. Now, I doubt that many of you would have known or expected a character like Flicky to star in his own game. After all, the only time you could spot him is in Sonic the Hedgehog, where you free Flicky from one of Robotnik's badniks or capsules. Because of his relatively forgotten role in that game, it surprises me that he appears in his own. At any rate, here he is, and here is what happens. The game takes place in what appears to be a toy store. The object of the game is to guide Flicky through the toy store and retrieve his lost chicks. Flicky must then lead them to the exit, all while avoiding tigers and this little green bug named Iggy. That's pretty much all there is to say about the story. The game itself is a fast-paced arcade platformer where you'd find yourself bouncing off the walls and skidding to a stop trying to escape those tigers. The tigers prove to be a real nuisance. Not only can tigers rob Flicky of one of his scarce and valuable extra lives, but they can also separate Flicky from the rest of his chicks if one of them catches up to the line of chicks. This forces you scrambling to recover your lost chicks. It doesn't help that some of the chicks are angsty sunglass wearers. These guys don't even wait to be recovered by Flicky, but they run quickly in one direction, forcing you to catch them by running in the opposite direction. This works because the stages are structured similarly to Mario Bros. But like I said earlier, tigers are not the only forces acting against you. In later stages, Iggy appears from the same chutes the tigers emerge from. Iggy does not need to jump from one ledge to another, but simply climbs along the background of the stage to reach higher ledges. Iggy can also travel around the perimeter of those ledges, whereas tigers might get stuck bouncing between two walls. Fortunately for Flicky, Iggy cannot separate Flicky from his chicks, except by killing Flicky. Let's move on now to the gameplay. As I mentioned earlier, the game feels rather slippery, which is perfect for this type of game. It adds to the excitement when you literally feel as if you're scrambling to move in the other direction away from one of the enemies. This also brings a level of excitement in the bonus stages, where Flicky has to try to catch catapulted chicks in a basket. Flicky, being a bird, is also prone to making big and floaty jumps, perfect for nabbing chicks that might seem just out of reach. All in all, the gameplay feels very good, but as you can tell, this is an arcade game. That means that the game will not easily allow you to beat this game. I already mentioned how the enemies by themselves are pretty challenging, but the levels themselves also add to the difficulty. Of course, that doesn't make the level design necessarily bad. I never noticed anything particularly unfair. The fact is, though, the game does work against you with the enemy behavior, level design, and low number of extra lives. For these reasons, I never beat the game, even with a level select cheat, which only goes to level 36 for some strange reason. In any case, I say that Flicky is a fun and truly exciting arcade experience. Moving on is a game that I'm sure you'll recognize from Sonic Mania, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Now, I'm sure many people know that this is a standard Puyo Puyo game with a facelift. Basically, the player must match at least 4 beans of the same color to make them pop. If you rack up combos by sequentially matching up different collections of beans, you will drop trash pieces on your computer opponent's screen. The object is to clog up the computer opponent's screen so that no beans will drop on their screen. What I find rather interesting about this game, though, is that this game uses the characters from the cheesy Sonic Saturday TV show, which I never watched and only recently learned about. Still, the characters from the show are clearly recognizable in the game. Anyway, this game does come with a story. Basically, Dr. Robotnik kidnaps Jolly Beans from Beanville and turns them into robot slaves using his Mean Bean steaming machine. That's it. Not much else to say about this one. This game will serve to be interesting mainly to fans of puzzle games and Puyo Puyo, although I'm pretty sure that there are better versions of Puyo Puyo than this. Now let's move on to the final game of the episode, Altered Beast. The story of this game is as follows. Athena, Zeus's daughter, is kidnapped by some mysterious magician. To retrieve his daughter, Zeus commands a long-deceased hero to
rise from your grave,
and to rescue his daughter. Helping the hero along the way are power-ups that increase the bulk of the hero, and eventually allow him to transform into various beasts. This includes a werewolf, a dragon, a bear, and a tiger, each more muscular than the last. Now, let me just say that I love this concept, and I honestly believe that the designs of each beast are incredibly cool. However, they are the only reason one would ever consider playing this game. Everything else about the game is mediocre and annoying. One of the strange aspects of the game is the gameplay. Movement, while fairly quick, feels very stiff. In fact, everything about the gameplay feels stiff. The jumping in this game is also rather strange. The transition from being on the ground to in the air is quite stilted. In addition, the attacks that the hero is able to execute sometimes feel pretty unintuitive. However, perhaps the worst aspect of this game is the boss design. Firstly, in order to even face these bosses, the hero has to be transformed into a beast. This is done by collecting 3 power-ups throughout an auto-scrolling segment. If you fail to collect all 3, you repeat the process until you have all the required power-ups and have transformed into a beast. Now for the bosses themselves. These bosses vary widely in difficulty, at best being generally inoffensive, and at worst being tedious or broken. Multiple bosses are rendered completely harmless since you can spam the attack button to quickly end the fights. However, I found most trouble with the level 4 boss. This annoying dragon boss is normally fought when the hero is transformed into a tiger. When fighting it, it will shoot out these red birds and large plumes of fire. The birds are most annoying since they target the hero when directly overhead. The best way to avoid getting hurt by these attacks is to shoot upwards to kill the bird, and then avoid the fire, since any contact with it will hurt the hero. However, sometimes the birds will spawn inside the fire plumes, so if you avoid the fire, the bird will dive bomb you and hurt you anyway. To defeat the boss, you must do your best to avoid the attacks and shoot slow projectiles until it is weak enough to be destroyed by shooting yourself into the boss. This boss is capable of putting one in a truly foul mood. Fortunately, this game is only 5 levels long, with a weird rhino boss at the final stage that is easily exploitable. So, if you're interested in experiencing the beast transformations this game has to offer, just know that it is the only worthwhile aspect of this game. That, and the incredible voice acting.
welcome to your doom.
Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Plug and Player. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out my previous look at the Radica's Space Invaders Plug and Play. Also stay tuned for one last look at this Sega Genesis Plug and Play. Until then guys, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.